We're coming to you live from the land of fish. We've been eating fish since yesterday when we came here, and it's actually delicious. We had some at the seashore, and what we've had is really nice. And the heat is quite so much, but what we can tell you right now, unfortunately, we also do understand that President Uhuru Kenyatta may not attend this opening ceremony for this particular legislative summit, and we are looking to see who will be sent to open this particular forum on his behalf. But what do we know so far is that members of the county assembly, together with their speakers, and the Senate will be coming to probably exchange ideas in what has been there for the last 4 years, or for the last 6 years since devolution, but it has been 4 years since this legislative summit started, and they will be trying to assess devolution and how far they've been able to get with regards to trying to enhance devolution and entrench it in the country and everything else that has been happening. And we do know that there are some issues that they would really have wanted President Uhuru Kenyatta to address. Remember, some time back, they actually tried to call on President Uhuru Kenyatta to even give them grants like members of the National Assembly and members of the Senate receive. And it has been demands by demands every year. So we'll be looking to see what is it that they will be looking towards this particular year, and what is the probable agenda they would like to be passing to President Uhuru Kenyatta. We'll be speaking to some of the members of the county assembly, their speakers and members of the Senate, trying to understand deeply what is happening. One of the issues that we do know so far, Zainab, is that also the members of county assembly have been agitating to have their own money not separated from the executive, because they do believe that the executive has been using the money that is forwarded to them as a dangling carrot, and that has actually hampered what they call oversight, because they do say that once money comes from the executive, or their money, once it is sent from the exchequer and it is coming to the county assemblies, it has to go through the executive. Then it is the executive that apportions money that goes to the assembly. So they do say that this is a matter that needs to change immediately, because some of the times when they do not agree with the executive, what happens is that the executive does not give money to the assembly. So I'm joined by some speakers here. I'm joined by the Speaker of Nandi, just to try and contextualize what is happening and what do we want to achieve at the end of this summit. It's the fourth one. What are the milestones so far? What have we achieved, and what do we aim to achieve with this particular one?
Thank you so much. My name is Joshua Kipto, Speaker Nandi. We are in our 4th annual legislative summit, which is anchoring this particular process into the devolution story. This journey began 2013 when we had the devolved system of administration coming into place. And the past 3 summits has always been taking stock of the legislative role of the county assemblies. One of the biggest things that the assemblies have been dealing with is to brand themselves into a position of being seen as institutions capable of carrying out oversight. Because when you talk about the devolution story, the media and every other person always just centers the story around the Council of Governors and the governors outside the county system. Very small consideration has been given to the legislative process. So this particular annual legislative summit is basically to take stock. And you've asked a very good question. What can we say has been achieved? Number one, institutionalization of the assemblies. We come from a place where the assembly started from scratch in 2013. And by 2017, they were able to achieve basics like having financial autonomy. We haven't hit yet there, but at least as an assembly, we run a budget, we run a system, we have staff, the MCAs are facilitated. You see us coming for this event. We come discuss our core roles: legislation, oversight, and representation. Now, the main thing that can be said is the capacity of the assemblies has been improving. We haven't hit the level where the national legislative process is, but we can say we are 60% there. There's still work need to be done. For this particular summit, we are keen to understand things like revenue sharing, the revenue allocation formula, because the assemblies are the ones that deal with budget process. Previously, the assemblies were purely dependent on the county executive in charge of finance. But now, in this particular forum, we want to anchor it and say it is our respective role. It is our job. We need to declassify. We want to understand how can we ensure equitable distribution of the resources, but importantly, real development. For that to happen, the assemblies only need to ask the question about how we doing our oversight role to the level expected of the public. And that is why we are here in this summit, to take stock, look at the hits and misses. I'm sure you've seen one of the things the assembly struggle with is image. quite a number of times. The few clips that are shown about assemblies is an MCA fighting. We've seen the case of Kiambu County Assembly, the other day Meru County Assembly. That's another thing really we need to stamp it out. Because Kenyans out there, when they hear county assemblies, the first thing they see, these are oversized councillors who are only used to throwing fist here there. Now, this particular conference, the level of organization, the nature of engagement should take that discussion to that level where we say, next time, let Kenyans see us as people who can legislate. We can undertake oversight, not the people who fight over mess, not the people who fight over positions, not the people who exchange fists in a honorable house. That is the main thing why we're here.
Well, talking about and sticking with this issue about the image, also there has been the question of the quality of members of the county assembly that are chosen. It is even thought that some of the people who come into these county assemblies are just cronies of the political party bosses. And thus, nothing constructive is actually happening. And they're not looking at the assembly as a place where they can legislate, but they're looking at the assembly as somewhere where they can just chill and eat money as they wait to see what they can do after 5 years. And probably that's one of the biggest mistakes. How do we contend to deal with this?
I have two answers for that. Number one, we're in a democratic system. And when it comes to democracy, the voter or the citizen is king. That is the person deciding. And I'm sure you understand the peculiar nature of our voters in the country. Whatever they decide about someone who to represent them, you can't very much change that. However, the second answer to that would be, that was the case in 2013. When we were transitioning from the local authorities to the county assemblies, the quality wasn't as good. And that's why you had a really serious problem about image, 13 to 17. But post-2017, the first 5 years of devolution made the public realize that the work of an MCA is not the councillor they used to know. There is now real legislation needs to be done. There is real oversight, because before 2013, money that was distributed to the counties was very little. The local authorities control around 2.5%. Now we are controlling 30% of the revenue. You expect people who understand the magnitude of that money. So on the bit of the quality, that has changed. If I can use my assembly, Nandi County Assembly, you'll be surprised to see that in my assembly, half of my MCAs are graduate. The other half, in fact, I have up to 7 or so MCAs with masters. So the quality has improved. However, it's a question of projecting the same image to the public. The only image that comes out is the bad stories. We need now to start having good stories. And we can only have good stories if you are able to showcase what we actually do. That as a media house, you can come to Nandi County and ask us a very simple question. Where are the implementation reports? Where are the reports telling us what work has been done, what work has not been done? So the issue of the quality is work in progress. We have to contend with democracy, but at the same time, intensive civic education to the public when it comes to the voting cycle. They need to understand. They need to understand that going forward, if a referendum is to happen, you are pushing for 40% county allocation. If you have 40% of your money at the county, definitely you need the quality of MCAs at the level of the members of parliament. Otherwise, we will not achieve. And that's why you would see we are still grappling with the image issue. So I will give ourselves 55 to 60%, but there's still room to improve. If we can get it to 75, I feel we should be okay, because that is where the limit comes in. And it begins with the media, it begins with the public. They need to see what work we do, but importantly, for us to do that, we need quality people. We are getting that in a few, but going to the next election cycle, can we improve from 17? 13 was a bit lower, 17 was an improvement, 22 should be even better.
Well, there's this question that you've actually even tackled a bit of it, and that is the autonomy. You want autonomy from the executive. You want your own money. You want to manage it in a whole way. And we have seen even the Auditor General's report, and there has been a serious indictment on the county assemblies with regards to the usage of money. One of the things that has been even cited is the traveling, is the usage of seating allowance and all this, and some trivial things that actually even the Auditor General has mentioned. Are you at a place that you would say that you really need autonomy, or do you still need some schooling from the executive?
I can answer that. In 2013, when we started, the budget was still one. County Executive County Assembly had one vote head. There were no two vote heads. And the danger with that is that we are being micromanaged. You couldn't have an assembly oversight the executive. How do you oversight someone who holds the purse? It is just a simple rule. Who pays the piper is the one who calls the tune. That was the case. However, the challenge at that time was, do the county assemblies have capacity to manage their resources? For 5 years, that was the story. However, when the county revenue allocation, whatever, when CRA, COB, and Auditor General accepted to give the assemblies the money, although the CC Finance still has to sign our requisition, something interesting you'll realize. If you look at our Auditor General's report from 13, 14, 14, 15, 16, 17, every single year has been improvement. Our financial discipline has come with the autonomy. That if I can ask you, if I can challenge you to pick the Auditor General's report of 15, 16 compared to 17, 18, you'd see the difference. The grappling is like any other government institution. No one can go and say that they have a clean audit report. Rarely. Even the national government that has been in existence for 45 years. County assemblies in 5 years, we have reduced the issues to be justification. For example, how do we justify the travels we do? Now, there's a circular that was issued to the assemblies where they were being told, for you to take out your members abroad, can you justify if such a training cannot be found locally? Number two, they have capped the number. Now, those controls help us. But for us to be able to get there, we still need to have absolute, we still need to have absolute control in terms of, at the moment, we control our money, we are audited as an assembly. Funny enough, people forget that the Auditor General audits us independently from the executive. The only thing remaining, we should stop going to the CC Finance to have our requisition signed. If we are audited ourselves as an assembly, why then don't we be given the chance to be able to requisition on our own, let us be audited on our own, and let us account for our own. And then the queries that come along, they are the things we are going to get. I can surprise you, in our cluster, North Rift cluster, Kericho County Assembly was given a clean bill of health. Nandi County Assembly, if you look at the audit queries that were raised, there are only a few justifications. When I came in, there are a lot of queries. But if you look at the progress we've made, over the years, we keep improving. So I don't think denying us that autonomy would be an answer to the problem. The issue is, to whom much responsibility given, much expectation is expected. So for us, if you give us the autonomy that we have so far, except that we need the signing, then we should go further, ensure that we account for our money.
You've been making demands all along. Are there any demands that we look to the government, probably? Are there some demands that you would want the government to meet with regards to county assemblies and how we can improve them?
The main demand is we need absolute financial autonomy. There's only one bit remaining. Can we be given the chance to requisition directly through our clerks to the COB, to the central bank, and get our money? That's the first demand. The second demand, we just want more or less alignment of welfare of the MCAs to be same standards as the MPs. For example, there are things we're asking for. This time we're not going to shout car grants and all those kind of things. We want to be systematic. We are engaging SRC in a more mature policy way. And one of the things we're asking are simple things like pension. If an MCA has gone for the two terms, that MCA qualifies to get pension, just like a member of parliament. If it's about remuneration, let's look at it differently. Can we justify based on our work? Can we look at our work? Can we do more or less like appraisal? And that's what we have told CRA. That's what we've told SRC. And like last time when you would come and shout, the demands we are making now, it is policy-based, it is organized, and I'm sure as a media you can see MCAs have changed. Previously, the president would come and would shout him down. The DP would come, we shout him down. Car grant. But this time we are more organized. We want a justification. And we give reasons. Let me give an example. If we say we want a car grant, it will be on the basis that we have the money ourselves. We are not telling the exchequer to give us. Because the assembly, surprisingly, unlike the National Assembly, have managed to have car and mortgage running for 5 years, that when we came in the second term, we had our own money, we gave them, they repay back. And for them, unlike the National Assembly, if you look at our basis, we ask for security and we deduct by 5 years over, we are done. So we are making demands with solutions from our end.
Well, Zainab, some of the discussions and some of the demands that we'll be seeing, probably they will be coming, and they are saying that they want some autonomy, they want some trust from government, and here say that he who is given much, much is expected from. But also there is Senator Zani, who plays an oversight role, and Senate is the house that actually looks into what the county assemblies are doing. Is there an improvement? I see that the theme of this year is assessing the far that we've come, and have the county assemblies been able to make that step that we have expected them to make? Are they there?
It's accelerating devolution. So what we're saying is that already devolution has kicked off. But as you know, in any process, and as you know, in the 2010 Constitution, as even the devolution phases were envisaged, when it comes to the practical implementation, There'll always be gaps. There'll always be things that you will see. For example, now we're looking at issues like on-source revenue and feeling this is something that needs a lot of focus at the moment. We're looking at the CRA revenue formula that we're also going to discuss. So as we move on, it's never a static process. It never ends. So we're looking at what we have achieved so far, but looking at the gaps and trying to see whether we need to come in through legislation, we need to come in through the roles of other stakeholders and players in terms of devolution to address these issues. So the theme is accelerating development, assessing the progress and addressing the gaps in policy and legislation. So today we expect a lot of input in terms of the legislation, looking at the various issues. What do we need to do? Where are the county assemblies? As you might know, this summit, the legislative summit, gives the legislature in the country, specifically the Senate and the county assemblies, a chance to exchange notes, find out where are we regarding particular matters and how do we move forward. And what are the gaps and what are the hitches? Really looking to see what are the hitches and how to address those hitches. That's very key.
You've spoken about something very important, and this is with regards to the legislation. And there's a time that the Senate was quite concerned with the county assemblies and the quality of laws that is coming from the county assemblies. When we are looking at legislation, and probably as you've been able to assess through the Senate and all that, are we improving with regards to the quality of bills or the quality of laws that are coming from the assemblies?
I think there have been very many changes within the county assemblies, even starting with the format of the assemblies, beginning with the first phase of devolution and the second phase. A lot of also interaction, capacity building at both levels, at the Senate and at the county assemblies, and an interaction. We also have very many bills that are cascaded, for example, from Senate into the county assembly. So what they'll do is take this bill and cascade it for their specific circumstances. Most of the bills, if you look at the county bills, are touching on issues within the counties. For example, if we look at the flags and emblems bill, if we look at bills that look at how to structure the county, the pavements in the county, for example, county statistic bill, county attorney bill, so that we can actually, most of the bills are looking at a process that was centralized and trying to zero it down now and come to a county level. So most of these bills and a number of these bills are looking at national bills and cascading them now to counties. For example, having a county attorney, for example, having county statistics unit, for example, having processes within the counties that can be tackled at the county level. So most of these processes now have become clear over time. And you might understand and know that when we began, it was a phase and it was a whole sphere of understanding what devolution was. Now more people have understood, more people have begun to see where we want to go, what direction we want to take, and more input is being put into that. And I'm sure at the 5th Annual Legislative Summit, we'll still have other issues coming. We'll now be looking at further gaps. We'll be looking at maybe new processes. We'll be looking at maybe some of the issues that have been put into place. For example, like now we have issues of revenue within the counties, and we are realizing that the money that is going to the counties is not enough to develop those counties. And on-source revenue is becoming a big thing and a big issue. So maybe in the next legislative summit, we'll be looking at a situation where, yes, maybe we have more resource, but then how do we continue to unlock? So it's a continuous process, very, very educative, very, very useful process, I think, in terms of actually putting everything together to ensure devolution works.
Just before I let you go and introduce somebody else, do you think that it is time that one of the things they're agitating for is financial autonomy? Do you think that it is time that we give county assemblies financial autonomy? Are they at that point whereby they can actually manage the resources that they are given in a prudent manner?
I think it's about systems, and in many cases we've put systems across the board. You will remember that some time back we put a system, for example, of ceilings at the county levels to ensure that the money that is going to counties is handled and should not go beyond specific ceilings. We're also coming up with ward administration and distribution funds so that we can actually find ways that your ward can still be developed regardless of the machinations that can happen at the county level. We are also looking at ways to ensure that counties are empowered, and one way of doing that is for them to have their own CBK operational account where they can have means and they can have access and they can be able to plan, and that will give them a level of autonomy that is very, very critical. What we need to be careful about, ensure about, is that that autonomy also creates transparency. That this is the money, this is how it is being spent, and this is how it's moving forward. Because I think at the end of that day, what people want to be able to do is to know what are the funds that have come in, how have they been spent, what projects have they been spent on. And now we're moving more and more towards a redistributive policy for development in the wards. Certain counties, for example, have moved forward with this, almost like where everybody meets together and decides the development that is going to be done per ward. What we don't want is to have marginalization within devolution, so that you find some wards are not able to progress because they have inadequacy of funds, or they're not able to have the funds that are needed for them to actualize the projects in there. Devolution was brought to equalize societies. It was brought about to actually be a redistributive process of resources, both economic and social resources, hospitals, education, water. And that's what we are moving towards. So that is a big step in that direction.
Well, the last one is your colleagues, senators, have actually also been accused of probably giving this forum a wide berth. Why so?
I think they haven't. We are at about 10 o'clock, quarter to 10. The Speaker of the Senate is coming here shortly with the host of senators. This is the most important legislative agenda we have in an annual calendar. The room and the hall will be full very shortly. Of course, we started earlier so that we could have the entertainment and get everybody into the mood. We are kicking off. We have a very, very important agenda for this day. And I'm sure we have great panelists also lined up who are going to give us a way forward as we go back to the pre-summit events and coming up with our resolutions. And even these resolutions move us to 2020 in terms of what is expected. So we'll be reviewing this again at the 2020 legislature and having a mechanism ourselves to oversight ourselves, if you may, to see where have we gone. I think the devolution agenda is far too big and too important, you know, for all of us as Kenyans, and we have to do everything that we have to do within our means to ensure that it is actualized to its maximum.
Thank you very much, Senator. Well, probably those are some of the things that we'll be looking to see whether they will be addressed at this particular forum. And also, one of the things that they have said is that they are really trying to deal with this image issue. And one of the counties that we've seen also fighting, one of the recent counties is Kiambu. And right now, I'm joined by the Speaker of Kiambu County, Stephen Disho, and probably to address this issue about image. The Kiambu County Assembly was seen the other day trying to fight about money and disbursement of funds. Probably, how are we trying to address this, and probably is it something that could have been averted if there were consultations between the members of the county assembly?
Well, I think there's a wrong misconception, Mr. Mureithi, about that what happened in Kiambu 2 weeks ago. It was nothing to do. It had nothing to do with the. It had nothing to do with the supplementary budget. It had nothing to do with the registration. It had absolutely nothing to do with what we do, the business we do in that house. These were personal matters that just emerged on the floor of the house. And when I realized that what has happened, I suspended the house for 2 hours, for 20 minutes. And when everything came down, we came back and we continued to transact business. But out there, people thought that we were fighting because of money, because of supplementary budget, because of other things. But these were just personal matters. And as a speaker, I took appropriate action to bring down the matter. And it was sorted out. It came to an end. After 20 minutes, the house came back and we transacted business.
Then there are also these accusations that probably there's a disconnect between the members, what they want and what the speakers want, because even the members have been accused of trying to twist the speaker into giving them trips even when they are not deserved. You, as the custodian of the money that goes to the county assemblies, how are you able to deal with this issue?
Well, in Kiambu, we have got a very nice system. We have planned those who are traveling, either for workshops within the country, and where need be. And we have a foreign trip, for example. There's a system, there's no struggle. We have a system who is going, if it is, for example, about agriculture, and it's about going to Israel. The first priority is the Agriculture Committee, and livestock, and fisheries. If it's about ICT, we look the destination with better ICT studies, and we send members there. If it's something to do with administration or management, we look for that destination and we send people there. And of late, we have established Arusha as one very good destination. which is taught by ESAMI, the East and Southern Africa Management Institute, which has got a holistic training and management provisions for all members. And we take people there, members there, and they study well. So there's no war, there's no nothing.
Thank you very much, Speaker. And probably these are some of the issues that we'll be seeing, that they will be talking about with regards to how they can come together and exchange ideas and improve the quality of work that is done in the county assemblies. And one of the things that we've also noticed is the fact that the county assemblies have also come under sharp scrutiny when it comes to issues of disbursement of funds. Remember, about a week ago, there was an uproar over some money that had been appropriated to the Nairobi governor, about 96 million in confidential budget. And this question had been asked, why was this money set aside? As also some county assembly members are being accused of just trying to pass budgets without having looked deeper into what is there and how that money is going to be used. So these questions are arising. And from here, because there are some people who have been brought to teach them and also to have discussions with them, the county assembly members, the speakers, and also the Senate are expecting that probably at the end of it all, they'll have learned a thing or two with regards to devolution and how they can carry forward this issue about devolution. Right now, I go back to you, Zainab, in studio, as we go around this particular area to see what is being offered and what the county assemblies are offering. Because outside there, we've seen tents from all the 47 county assemblies as they try to showcase what is there and what they have to offer. Right now, it's back